Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Sustainable Saturday. Sustainable Saturdays are a series of sessions that we conduct on various topics related to the environment, related to the climate, related to wildlife, and all things ecology. And today, for this session, we have with us Anmol Valiyare. Anmol is the research associate here at Green Yatra, and he has completed his bachelor's in chemical engineering and a PG diploma in forest management. Today, Anmol will be talking to us about this very interesting relationship that we see in the wild among prey and the predator, and hope that this session, adds more insight into the things that you know about ecology. So, over to you, Anmol.
Thank you, Sandra, for my introduction. So, hello everyone. Today, I would be talking about predator prey interaction, how it plays a significant role in ecosystem. So before we go into the details of what predator-prey interaction does, we have to understand what is considered as a predator and what is a prey. So, for example, from an ecological perspective, interaction between two individuals, which result in energy being transferred from one individual to another, is a predator-prey interaction. So, the one which gains the energy is known as a predator, and the one that loses its energy is known as a prey. People often misunderstand that this only happens between two species of animals, like two different species of animals. But the fact is, it can happen in between members of the same species, like for example, cannibalism during the times of starvation. And another common misconception is that animals that are lower in food chain are usually preyed upon by the animals that are higher in the food chain. So, for example, we can take a pack of hyenas preying and eating an apex predator like lion, or we can take the examples of rat snakes that eat eggs and young ones of their deemed predators such as cobras and larger birds. So, predator prey interaction often plays a major role, and it's a driving force behind evolution. So, because of its competitive nature between the predator prey, it tends to develop a mechanism to be like the animals tend to develop a mechanism that makes them more pro-efficient predator, or they escape better from a predator. So one of the best examples can be seen in snake fossil of Eophis underwoodi. So this is the fossil. This is from Bethonian stage, like the middle Jurassic stage. Sorry, Bethonian age, which is from middle Jurassic stage. So it's around 165 to 167 million years old. So this is the oldest fossil related to the modern snakes. So it is relatively smaller in size, and as you can see at the posterior end of it, it has small limbs that is offshooting. It did not have any venom gland as well. So through gradual adaptation, it was seen that snakes developed various kinds of predation tools, like increasing the body size, fangs, and even venom as a response to their habitat and the prey dwelling in it. So similarly, in praise, we can see creatures resorting to bright coloration, like in salamanders, or poisonous skin in poison dart frog, or resorting in Batesian mimicry, like the the wolf snakes imitating the common crate. So the predator-prey interactions have a major impact on the ecosystem, affecting the abundance of both predator and prey species, as well as the overall structure of the community. For example, in a forest ecosystem, if predators feast on browsing herbivores, the number of browsing herbivores subsequently decreases. So when this happens, we see, when uh, the predators who prey on the browsing herbivores decreases, we can see a sharp increase in the number of the herbivores. So when this happens, we can also see a sharp decline in the shrub and subtree density of that area. It can alter the entire region into a grassland ecosystem over a long period of time. The predator prey dynamics is a complex Just a moment. The predator prey dynamics is a complex concept and often goes completely in another direction to which we hypothesize to go. Despite collecting extensive data about animal behavior, habitats, and their niches, it is still really hard to accurately predict which methods would protect and increase the flora and fauna when they are implemented. Although although this is the case, there are models that are developed to predict how predator prey interaction would affect the population of the uh, animal species over a period of time.
So, Anmol, just going back to that grassland example that you mentioned about, there's another very famous this kind of a thing that also was studied at Yellowstone. Are you aware of that? Uh,
Yes, actually, I have included it in my in the next slides. I will go through it, like the introduction of gray wolves into Yellowstone Park, right?
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Uh, so now we would come now that we once we understand what is predator prey interaction, like the basic concept of what it is, now you would wonder how predator prey population model have any relevance to saving ecosystem. So it's pretty straightforward. You see, the population of animals fluctuate over time, and the resources required to sustain them along with it also fluctuates. So if the number of predators start to increase drastically, they can drive their prey towards extinction, which could destroy the entire ecosystem where they reside. So the first model that is widely used to predict the predator prey population over a period of time is Lotka Volterra model. So it's a system of non-linear differential equation. So basically, non-linear differential equation is the one that doesn't show a linear graph. So that describes this basically describes the dynamics between two population of predator and prey. So this includes the number of interacting population, size of the interacting population of one predator and one prey, with the population size, their intrinsic growth rate, the predation rate, and the natural death rate. The model also takes few core fundamentals before it gives the results. The first assumption is that the rate of change of population is proportional to the size of the population. Then prey have ample of food to eat, and predator is solely dependent on the prey for its food. Prey dies due to either predation or natural process, and it doesn't die due to illnesses. And same with the predator. And predator's appetite is limitless. The birth rate of predator is positively affected by the rate of predation it can do, and they only die naturally. So both population can be, and the final assumption is that both population is described in a one single variable. So even with such ideal assumptions, which won't be possible in real life because there are multitude of various different factors that affects the population, it is we are able to use this model to predict predator prey population change over a period of time pretty accurately. So for example, one study used Lotka Volterra model to predict that the hare population, like it's the case is known as Hudson Bay case. So this model was used to predict that the hare population, snowshoe hare population, would decline over a period of time when the climate becomes warmer. Even though the whenever the climate is warm, it's better for the hares to reproduce and sustain itself. This is because when the warmer climate comes, it is easier for the hare to reproduce, but it's also easier for the lynx to prey on the hare population, and the predation rate of predation increases. The study predictions were later confirmed by the observation of hares and lynx population, uh, showed a uh, which showed a sinusoidal wave over a period of time. So you can see the population change in the graph, and how there is a lag effect that comes on the links each time whenever the hare population shoots up. And after that, the air population dips when the the population of links increases over a particular amount. So there are other models as sorry so there are other forecasting models that are used to predict population change. So one model is Rosenberg MacArthur model, which also consider take interspecies competition into consideration. Then we have Hassel's model, which takes environmental change, predators satiation, which means that predator won't eat prey after a particular amount. Then we have Murray's model, which goes a step further and takes spatial distribution of predator prey population into consideration as well. Now we will go to the consequences of predator prey interaction. Now for the first and the most obvious one, the consequences is the predator prey population control. So the predator prey interactions helps to control the population of both predator and prey. Apart from the generic case of carnivores hunting the grazing or browsing herbivores to limit their numbers and protect the natural ecosystem, we can also take the example of large herbivores like elephants preying on patches of bamboos, which usually helps other less competitive fauna to grow in that area. Then we have cascading effect. So this is the phenomena in which if one species is removed, there is a ripple effect on the rest of the ecosystem. This can happen due to predator-prey interactions, where the removal of a predator can lead to increase in the prey population, which can have a negative impact on the other species in the ecosystem. So, for example, the removal of sea otters from the west coast of North America. This led to increase in the number of sea urchins. So the sea urchins basically overgraze the kelp forest, which provides as a source of food and habitat for other fishes and aquatic animals. So we saw a decline in the number of fishes and other aquatic animals. So this is basically the kelp forest. The purple things you see is the sea urchins, and the ones that ochre colored plant is basically the kelp. So now, invasive intervention. The introduction of a non-native species into a habitat is basically what we call invasive intervention. This can have a significant impact on the ecosystem, including disruption of predator-prey interactions. So, for example, the introduction of cat in Australia, which directly and indirectly led to extinction of many marsupials. Now we go to habitat quality. So the predator-prey interactions can also affect the habitat quality. If predators remove too many prey from an area, it can lead to habitat degradation. This is because prey also have a symbiotic relationship with the ecosystem that they live in. Animals helps to pollinate seeds, clear weeds, aerate the soil through by making burrows, and provide necessary nutrients to the soil either through their droppings or when they get killed. Now we move towards mechanism of predator-prey interactions. Since we got the basic interaction, what predator-prey interactions means and what happens in it, we have to realize how we can use its fundamentals in order to restore and protect flora and fauna in areas degraded by us humans. So two control mechanisms that are adopted are top-down control and bottom-up control. So, in a top down control, it is basically used in an ecosystem where predator prey interaction, where the predator prey interaction, the predator controls the abundance of the prey. This is often seen in ecosystems where the number of predators are too few and a prey population can grow unchecked. Like, however, when predators are introduced, they can help to control prey populations and prevent them from becoming too abundant. So, as we discussed earlier, the example of Yellowstone National Park, introduction of gray wolves to Yellowstone National Parks in the 1990s helped the control of the population of elk. Since the eradication of the gray wolves back in the 19th century, early 20th and 19th century, the elk number had no natural predators and grew in great numbers. They were destroying trees like willow, aspen, then thin leaf alder, etc. So, and they did not allow these trees to grow taller from beyond a particular point. So, by introducing gray wolves back into the park, the park authorities successfully triggered a trophic cascade where the number of elks were reduced sufficiently uh, to reduce their browsing level, which increased the number of trees, which increased the number of plants that were native to the land, and allowed it to grow taller and survive. So this is basically the Yellowstone National Park and the change that occurred uh, within 3 decades. So now we go to bottom up control. So bottom up control is also known as donor control, which is used in predator prey interaction where the prey control the abundance of the predators. To elaborate bottom up control more, this scenario occurs when herbivores are controlled by their competition for plants and carnivores are controlled by the availability of number of herbivores present in the area. The basic rationale behind it is that if the population of apex predators get lower or higher than the carrying capacity of a particular habitat, they can be limited by controlling the population of the individuals of lesser trophic level. So a real world example for this would be the restoration of zooplanktons to increase the number of critically endangered fishes like Chinese paddlefish, which are dependent on zooplankton itself. So this is the photo of the Chinese paddlefish. Both of these control mechanisms are not foolproof and can produce very negative consequences if we do not understand or implement it correctly.
So, Anmol, do you have any thoughts on the introduction of cheetahs into our Indian forests? Because they
The
also,
Kuno National Park. Yeah, actually, cheetahs also act as a mesopredator, like a specialist predators which controls the grassland population, like grassland
correct,
cheetal population.
correct.
So before, what it used to happen was that the main predators in the Kuno National Park were, I think, spotted hyena or lions or tigers. They were not as proficient hunters like cheetahs when it comes to grassland. So yes, in a way, cheetahs helps to control the population of uh, cheetahs in grassland.
Okay,
But I am not totally sure that it's for that reason. Like, I think it's just to increase the biodiversity as well. Like, I'm not
okay,
completely sure. Um,
okay.
so now we move forward to wildlife management strategies. So the most commonly used management strategies are like the approaches which are most commonly used are either protection or culling. These are the main ways where the forest departments around the world functions. So the pros and cons, we talk about the pros and cons. So first we will talk about protection. So it basically involves steps taken to prevent the decline of animal population. If the goal is to increase the dwindling number of, for example, let's say carnivore predators, then measures such as designating protected areas, banning the hunting of their preferred prey, or increasing their home range would suffice. If the main objective is to increase the prey herbivore population, then relocation of excess carnivore, their predator population to another place, creating of wildlife corridors for their free movement, and restoring patches of their preferred foliage can be done. So protection strategy helps to maintain healthy population of wild animals and protect biodiversity by preventing the extinction of rare and endangered species. Although it has, what happened?
I was just going to ask you, but isn't relocation a very debatable topic and something that is not usually preferred by people who are into wildlife management?
It depends upon the area, like we where we are relocating. If like if there the place where we relocate is similar, like extremely similar, the habitat and the like the niche from which we are relocating the carnivores are extremely similar to their previous niche. I don't think there's a big problem in that. Like especially even like we would face the problem of increasing number of tigers. We cannot give a large home range to every tiger that is present. So it's necessary to relocate a certain amount of tigers to another places which they historically which they historically uh, used as an habitat. So It's not completely bad.
Okay.
So should I continue?
Yes, yes.
So what was I was talking about protection, right? So the protection strategy helps to maintain healthy population of wild animals and protect biodiversity by preventing the extinction of rare and endangered species. So there is a high chance of others. Although there is a set of cons that is attached to it, like there is a high chance when we focus on protecting a target species, there is a high chance of other species getting affected by them negatively. For example, if you protect a generalist predator like foxes, and their population was to increase exponentially, then they will clear out a wide area of rodents and small animals in the specific area, which would ultimately degrade the area. Now that we move, now we move forward to culling. So culling basically means killing a certain number of animals in a population, usually to control their numbers to prevent damage caused by them to their local environment. Even though this practice is cruel, it helps to control the number of animals that are causing problems to other flora and fauna population of the ecological community that they share with them. So it helps to control the it also helps to control the fast spread of diseases from prey to predators. So for example, rabies, which usually gets transferred from bovines to large carnivores, or CDV, like canine distemper virus, which get transferred from among predators from smaller canines. So this can can have a huge negative impact on the overall well-being of the wild animals, and we can wipe out a considerable chunk of wild animals from a area if we let this go unchecked. So even with culling being a requirement in certain cases, it can also be controversial as it involves killing animals. One of the other major cons of culling is that it can never predict whether a major, whether the population of the species that is culled to could adjust to the new like could they adjust to the new numbers, or whether or not they can recover their numbers. So the irresponsible cullings could push a species into extinction. For example, thylacine of Australia, which was culled during the uh, uh, the colonization period.
Okay, so then I'm thinking, like hypothetically speaking, if we have like a ideal environment without, any external intervention, basically we are just letting nature be the way it is. Then I don't know, would culling be an option at all?
No, in an ideal environment, it's never an option. But the problem is that we have interfered a lot with the nature.
Hmm.
So,
So it's basically human intervention that is the reason
yeah,
culling has ever been. Yeah.
basically, we are writing we are trying to rectify our mistakes, because there are species which are positively affected due to human intervention, and they basically make other species go extinct, which are more sensitive to human intervention.
Mm, okay.
Like you can see the crows, which can easily adapt to
Hmm.
human presence,
Correct.
but some wild birds cannot uh, tolerate human presence.
Okay.
So now we move towards unforeseen results. So what oftentimes, regardless of how well planned management practices are, it can entirely go wrong. For example, if we have to protect a particular herbivore by removing the apex predator apex predator that prey upon them, the desired result should be to increase the number of herbivore population, but oftentimes number of mesopredators increases, and that could lead to further decline of the number of herbivores. For those who don't know what mesopredators are, they are basically the predators which occupy the mid ranking of the tropic level, below the apex predator. To further clarify this concept, we can take the example of from Indian landscape. Let's say if we have to conserve the number of grassland loving grassland loving deer species like chittal, then we have to displace their predator, apex predator, which is tiger. So when tigers are displaced from the areas, leopards residing in the area which were previously threatened by the tigers gain access to unrestricted hunting. Since leopards are more adaptive hunters who can climb tree and slopes better than tigers, they will not only keep the numbers of chittal the same, but they would also start hunting the forest loving species like sambar. So these are basically chittal and sambar. The one you see in the top is a chittal. The spotted one is the I think I sorry, the one in the top is a sambar, and the one in the bottom is a chittal. So since the leopards are more adaptive hunters, they can hunt both sambar and chittal, and uh, uh, the both of them get threatened by the leopard ability. Now I will explain a simple concept of niche width. So the ability of adapting to more ecological niches is known as niche breadth or width. Animals with wider niche breadths are able to adapt to more diverse set of ecological conditions. So in this case, if we consider leopards, they have a wider niche breadth as compared to tigers. So the leopards living in this area are able to create more damage to the prey as compared to tigers. So whenever we are making a we are making a management plan, and if we don't include such factors into it, we can actually ruin the ecosystem in a worse way, in a worse way. So now we would come to sorry. So now we would come to whether or not our interference is justified. Um, so now one of the most common points for debates between conservationists and preservationists is whether or not we should interfere in the matters of nature or natural cycle that's going on. While conservationists being pro interference and the latter preservationist being of the opinion that the ideal scenario would be leaving them alone. So let in my opinion, the ideal scenario would be leaving the nature alone and the natural selection to do its work. Let diseases and predation determine the amount of species that survive or go extinct. But as everyone knows, the significant amount of irreversible damage has been done by humans on the nature due to anthropological habitat degradation. A lot of fauna which would have otherwise survived are going extinct. The real problem arises when umbrella species such as red wolves, tigers, and elephants are threatened towards extinction. The umbrella species are basically animals which have a large area of requirements. These requirements coincide with many other species that are present in their habitat. A lot of other animals that share the community with them, as well as the plant species, are directly or indirectly dependent over the existence of the umbrella species. An abrupt push towards extinction of this species could have a knockoff effect on the other species as well, and they might go extinct as well. So in order to avoid such unnecessary tragedies, we have to do certain level of intervention. So, as to conclude, uh, I would like to say that a healthy ecosystem only happens if the creatures that dwell in it are healthy. The actions taken by predators towards these their prey could be seen cruel and sometimes even irrelevant in the eyes of humans. But in grander scale of things, these interactions are what keeping the ecosystem going on and the balance of the ecosystem. uh, I hope I was able to share important points like importance of the predator prey interaction to the audience. And thank you for the session.
Thank you so much, Anmol. It was insightful, and it's important that you drew attention to the topic that human intervention is something that, while it is bad, it needs to be limited, and it needs to, its presence is important considering the amount of irreversible damage that we have done. And even while from an anthropogenic point of view, we might see the way animals interact with each other, and we might be like, that is so bad and this should not happen. It's natural selection, and natural selection at the end of the day needs to win at always, and that would actually be the ideal, even though we can never achieve an ideal environment. So thank you so much. It was a really insightful session. There was a nice scientific bit to it, there was a nice story bit to it, and I really do hope the audience enjoyed this session, and we hope to see you next Saturday for another session. Thank you.